I genuinely think that Wattpad is one of the worst places for younger authors to start publishing original fiction. And it's not because Wattpad is bad as a concept, it's just because it teaches people to start treating their drafts like social media posts. Hey guys, I'll make this intro quick. My name's Elena, and I just published my debut novel a month ago, and I'm 17. And I'm not saying that as a flex or anything. I'm just saying that because I've had this publishing dream for a really long time. I first wanted to start getting serious about publishing when I was like 11, and being 11, young, and wanting to publish for free, because, you know, I was literally a child, like, I didn't have any money to, like, pay for trad publishing or literary agent or anything. I looked online, and Wattpad was really appealing to me as an inexperienced, literal 11-year-old child, because it let you publish stuff for free without any barrier to entry, along with the fact that there was always this airy, mystical idea of the Wattpad stars, the Wattpad books pipeline, where your story could maybe in the future potentially magically blow up and get trad published and then get a TV adaptation. This was kind of weird, but we'll get into it later. If you clicked on this video, I hope you already know what Wattpad is, so I'm not going to give you the usual commentary, YouTuber. This is when Wattpad was founded and all the company history. I'll make this pretty quick. It was founded in 2006 by Alan Liao and Ivan Yuan as a mobile-focused social reading and writing platform where users could upload stories online for free. That's it. It became known for fanfiction, romance, and serialized fiction because of its recommendation culture and extremely young user base. And I just want to make it clear, like, I'm not saying Wattpad is bad. Like, it's really good at what it does, and that's create a free platform where people who write fanfic or people who want to put their story out there can do so in a way that doesn't have a cost to entry. But if you're a young and experienced author, or you had the same experience that I did where you wanted to publish someday and you looked online and saw that Wattpad was a thing and you're like, I want to publish there, I just want to make it clear that Wattpad is not for publishing original fiction and starting as a young author. Like, I think especially for young authors, it's very damaging. And the first aspect that I want to cover of why you shouldn't use it to, like, ever write a book or something like that if you want to do, like, a serious published novel, is that it is not a word processing software at its core. It behaves more like a social media app than a word processing software. In a normal writing software, you're dealing with margins, pages, page numbers, and the curated art of formatting. And that is such a difficult thing that is, I think, the most overlooked aspect in bookmaking, even more than making like copyright pages or something. It's just like totally forgotten. And in Wattpad, you don't have any of that. It's just a long scroll of text. There's no senses of pages or layout, which can be a really crucial part of the writing and reading experience. There is very little control over formatting. You can like bold text and italicize certain parts, but apart from that, you don't have more than like a rich text format layout. And this isn't too big of a deal, but it doesn't build the important formatting habits that you need to have as a young author if you want to publish later on. Formatting is a skill. That's why people pay to get it done. And another pitfall with Wattpad not being a word processing software is that the revision tools are limited. And you can edit, sure, like, yes, you can edit your work, but you can't track changes like you would in a word processing software, which is really important if you're going to be getting an editor down the road. And ultimately, Wattpad is more of like a publishing software than a drafting one. But worse than the bare bones UI, it has a lot of writing ruining flaws. There are a lot of people who have experienced their chapters just being deleted while writing, and if you don't have it backed up anywhere else, that is a death sentence. But if you're a beginner writer or a kid like I was, you don't know what margins are. You don't know better. You don't know why margins matter. You don't know about gutters, title pages, and all the technical little things. So Wattpad lacking those things isn't really something that matters to you or something that you're really going to notice. And the next issue that I want to talk about, it's less about the writing aspect so much as it is publishing unfinished drafts. I think it can be so risky for someone to post an unfinished draft and then have it interconnected with like readerships, likes, and comments, and, you know, the normal dopamine social media thingy. People, especially beginner writers, need space to draft privately without readers influencing the story direction or pressure to add new chapters and keep readership. You need space and privacy to write poorly, and then get the time to refine it later on. And moving on, when you hear Wattpad, you probably think of fanfic, or romance, or both. And Wattpad's algorithm favors what already works, which is fanfic and romance. And it's not impossible, but it is more difficult for original stories to be discovered. There's also heavy culture on cover, tag, and SEO optimization, which can feel more like you're trying to game the system than honestly write your story. And to be fair, it's not completely dissimilar to what you are going to experience once you actually publish your book. But I feel like through Wattpad, the odds are kind of stacked against you if you're writing original fiction and not like fanfic or something that's more popular. And I feel like generally it can be really disheartening to feel like you failed if you get like negative comments or things like that when you're still in the drafting phase, especially if it's from like anonymous people you don't know. Okay, now for the real danger, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this. There is a massive issue with plagiarists and repost bots, story theft, and AI scraping. Author CJ Doherty talked about plagiarized versions of her books on Wattpad almost getting 100,000 views before anything meaningful was ever done about it. There are also tons of smaller writers talking about their stories getting reposted onto random websites, fake translation accounts, and even sites putting stolen stories behind paywall. The writer of a fanfic called Going Back, known on Wattpad as Blue Starry Sky 1, found out that the Wattpad story had been copied onto another sketchy platform entirely and monetized without permission, even though it was for free on Wattpad. And because so many Wattpad users are really young, a lot of them generally do not understand what it means to publicly upload your work online. Once something is out there, you lose some control over where it can end up. And with AI scraping becoming way more common, public writing online is constantly being harvested into datasets and mirrored onto other sites. If you're 13 posting your first draft at 2 a.m. on your phone, you're probably not going to be thinking about like any of that stuff. And those mirror sites, that's what they're called, they're freaking scary. They have everything that Wattpad has and sometimes behind a paywall. To take your story from there, sometimes they require you to make an account on their site and fill out like a form. But these sites often have malware and leave users vulnerable to that. I touched on this before, but Wattpad encourages validation addiction. It treats your story like a social media post. And this is not necessarily bad in and of itself. You can use social media in a healthy way, just like you can use Wattpad in a healthy way. But still, I think that it's so bad for young writers who are still in their drafting stage, even if they don't know it yet. Like, I remember writing my story directly into the Wattpad word processor and being like, this is the final thing. This is done, my magnum opus. There is no way that I can make this better. And I was like, well, if I edit it now, then it's going to change stuff and people have already seen it. It's going to mess everything up. And I think I would have really benefited from just having no one see that and having just drafted privately. Like, seriously, did the Google Docs factory explode or something? I don't know. And again, yes, you're going to have to deal with the woes of SEO and marketing eventually, but it is detrimental to the creative process to take algorithm poison so soon. Now let's dive into book deals and the illusion of fame. Maybe because of survivorship bias, maybe because of something else, but when you're a bright-eyed tween hoping to become a famous writer, the Wattpad book deal program seems appealing and maybe even possible. Ostensibly, the pipeline looks super simple. You publish, you get readers, you get trad published, and maybe even a movie or a TV deal or something like that. But this is not a pipeline like how they want you to think it is. It's more of a filter. Wattpad's publishing and media arm, like Wattpad Books, are often touted as proof that, like, yeah, we actually are a launchpad for writers. Like, yeah, we do take these people who are just writing their hearts out on our site and then we publish them off into the real world and then they become real authors. And there are successful stories like The Kissing Booth from a decade ago, and which became popular around the same time that I started using Wattpad. But those are outliers and not the rule. Let me explain. Let's try to look at the numbers. Wattpad doesn't release conversion data, so all of these are estimations based on industry discussions and reporting. There are about 90 million users on the platform. About 2 to 3 million of them are writers, which is actually crazy. I thought there'd be more writers than like such a small amount. Anyways, you want to know how many of them have actually been turned into trad published books? 1,000. Yeah, 1K. And surely other publishers other than Wattpad's proprietary arm have helped authors succeed, right? Let's narrow it down to indie publishers who decide to publish authors that get traction on Wattpad through their own non-affiliated with Wattpad services. And so the estimation for that, a separate number from Wattpad's proprietary arm, is 150 on the low end and 1,500 on the high end. And that's a conversion rate about 0.07%. which is not that good. And if you're looking to get big five trad published, which is what people generally think when we think of like book deals, then you're looking at about 100 to 300 total, like all time.
Hey guys, I just have to make a change to that. I was pulling my data from Wattpad's webtoon arm, which is obviously for webtoons, not for written works. And I did more research, and the revised number for the amount of books that Wattpad has actually published through its proprietary arm is 188. And the amount of books that have been picked up by indie presses is probably less than 50. And Big Five is anywhere from 55 to like 200, just because they only really deal with like the mega hits, like The Kissing Booth and stuff like that. Anyways, back to the video. Sorry about that.
And that's a conversion rate of about 0.003%. And the problem isn't necessarily about how many become signed to a deal, it's that Wattpad makes this stuff look attainable. Featured books are constantly pushed, and the success stories are so publicized. Trending lists show what's popular, and reward formats that work. This is not a healthy environment for a teen starting their first few drafts. And so, if you're a teen author and you want to write, do so in private. Share with friends that you trust and have them give you feedback. Or if not, share it with your mom or your dad or someone else. I don't know. You need space to work and be creative without the immediate pressure of the social media machine. As for softwares to use, LibreOffice is pretty good. That's what I use for formatting my book. And it's free, like fully free too. And a lot of you guys have actually been telling me about this site called Ellipses. I think I'm gonna have to check it out. I haven't looked too much into it, but it seems interesting. I haven't tried it myself, but I honestly might. And share your favorite writing software below. And as an addendum, when you're proud of your work, I think it's okay to post small excerpts, but just know that your first draft deserves privacy. That's all. Don't make the mistake that I did. Tell us about a time that you totally had problems with Wattpad, and we can all share our collective sympathy and empathy. Buy my book or ask your local library to buy it. And thank you. See you next time. Also, if you're watching this before Sunday, June 7th, 2026, I am having my 1K sub live stream celebration there, where I'm actually giving out 10 hardcover copies, and it's not too late to sign up for the giveaway. I have the Google form linked in the description of this video, and I am still accepting Q&A questions. We're doing like a Q&A type thing. It could be about publishing, about me, about my book, about anything that has to do, and I especially encourage you to ask questions if you're like a teen author and you want to learn more about how to publish and how to break into the market, because that's what I'm trying to do, and I want to help other people do the same thing. So yeah, that's all. Thank you. All of that is free, by the way. You don't have to pay to enter, because otherwise that'd be an illegal lottery, and that'd be a scam. Anyways.